What is up, guys, and welcome back to another Gran Turismo Sport video. You guys have been calling for it, so here it is once again. We are all swagged up now. I have been a bit of a noob, a bit of a default up until this point. We are now rocking the Hitman slash Daniel Ricciardo outfit, and that is in response to a video that you'll actually see tomorrow. So I'm doing Daily Race C, which is at Suzuka. It's like a 25% race. There is a little bit of strategy involved. You can potentially do a one-stop and chase people down if you want to do so, but in the next GT Sport video you'll see we face a lot of dirty drivers, and you know, me rocking the Hitman skin is me not taking anyone's crap anymore, I suppose. But what I want to show you guys today is my greatest ever comeback on Gran Turismo Sport. I know, P4 on the grid, it's been an absolute disaster in qualifying. So this will take the comeback of all comebacks in order to win this race. We're also rocking the Fast and Furious Paul Walker livery as well. But heading into turn 1, this is where the race... It's such a noob mistake. It's where the race completely unraveled for me, and it happens a lot in the next GT Sport video as well. But Suzuka is absolutely deadly for the curbs, turn 1, a lot of places really. There's a lot of gravel trap. There's not much room for error around this circuit, and it caught a lot of people out. This track reminds me a lot of like Laguna Seca. There's a lot of, for lack of a better term, booby traps around the circuit. And, you know, we've been caught out straight away, dropping from P4 to P10 already because of the rolling start. It means we're 8 seconds off the lead of the race. I mean, if you're starting back towards, you know, last place, this is a full grid of 20, by the way, you know, you can already be 10, 15 seconds behind the leader, and that's just because of how spaced out the cars all are in a rolling start like this. But anyway, we're in P10 at the moment. We're trying to claw back the positions that we lost in this first lap, trying to put some pressure on this Jaguar F-Type as we roll down the back straight and into 130R, easily flat in Formula 1 cars. But in Group 3 cars, not so much. You have to downshift to 5th gear and lift off the loud pedal a little bit as we go for a big boy dive bomb up the inside of a Porsche 911. He kind of turns in on me like I'm not even there. To his shock horror, we actually are there, and we take his position. P7 at the end of the first lap, so a decent recovery already. Trying to get into the slipstream of the Mercedes. We pull to the inside, and we're going to go for a little lunge up the inside. I've actually gone in deep again for the second time in a row at turn 1, rejoining the circuit. We got collected again, I think, by the Mercedes, which we originally escorted wide. He actually went in way too deep. If I was getting overtaken up the inside, I would have broken early and not try and hang around the outside of turn 1. That's a little bit silly, but he pulled it off, or he tried to pull it off anyway, and we are now down to P12. So this race has really gone out the window at the opening stanza of this race. We're now trying to aggressively get back up the order. Now into P11. Dispatch of that Porsche once again. Now heading into the hairpin. This is dive bomb central in GT Sport. The Porsche goes for a big boy lunge there. Basically, it's pushed to pass there. And we've not only lost P11, but we've lost P12. And we're now down to P13 and 17.4 seconds off the lead of the race at this point in the race. I mean, surely it doesn't get any worse from here. Hopefully not. As we get past the Mercedes once again. He is, well, I've turned in on him there. There's no excusing that. My driving hasn't been great so far in these opening 2 laps, but I think after this lap, we really start to clean up our act as we're now in the slipstream of this Porsche once again. I mean, I've lost count of how many times we've had to overtake and then lose a position to this guy. It's been absolutely unreal, but there's a bit of a train up ahead. We get barged out of the way by the Mercedes. But despite that, we move up in a P10. Like, a lot of people went off there, including the Mercedes, who I'm not going to lie, didn't really leave him much space on the exit of the final chicane. Here's the replay of the Mercedes. I was kind of fed up at this point. I was sick of getting dive bombed. I was sick of getting pushed off. It happened again here. Like, this guy just comes in rudely, and so I'm like, no, get the hell out of here. I'm not leaving you any space on the exit. That's what you deserve. And we are hopefully going to move on with this race. The Mercedes dropping down to P14. We now hold on to P9. But look at the laps so far. A 2-minute 15.9 to open the race, and then a 2-minute 15.1 on the second lap. We should be in the 2-minute 2s on a good lap for me personally. So let's hopefully find that 13-second a lap gain and make our inroads towards the race leader, who is now 18 seconds up the road. But we are still kind of closing in on him. As you can see, these two just get snookered out of the way. P7. I found so far in my experience on Gran Turismo Sport, there's a absolutely monumental gap in the skill between various players. Like the skill gap is absolutely huge. There are phenomenally fast drivers, but there's also drivers who just have no pace, no consistency, no spatial awareness. It's just quite ridiculous, really. But you'll see a whole lot more of that in my next GT Sport video, that's for sure. Anyway, we get into a rhythm. You can see we're putting in a couple of personal bests, one of which being the fastest lap of the Grand Prix. So a 2-minute 3.3 is faster than what the leaders are running with up front, which is very interesting. So we could potentially have the pace to come back at these guys, but we're still 13 seconds off the lead at this stage in the race. This is Suzuka. It's a very unforgiving circuit, so you never know what might happen later. We're staying on board for this lap because it is actually my fastest lap of the race. 7 times tyre wear, from what I remember. So the tyres really do go off quite quickly here. After like lap 5 or 6, it's really quite hard to put in a personal best. But you can see here, following the Frenchman here in the Volkswagen as we go clean around the outside there. That guy like literally missed his braking point by about 100 meters and made that move look a whole lot more spectacular than what it was. P6, we're still running purple as we head into the middle sector hairpin, and now we're in the suck zone of the Ferrari up ahead. So let's hopefully utilize that slipstream, which is oh so powerful on Gran Turismo Sport. I thought F1 2019 was the worst game for OP slipstream. Turns out this game is worse. You can get slipstream from up to 1.5 to 1.7 seconds from the car ahead, which is absolutely ridiculous. The Ferrari 458 doesn't get a great run out of the spoon curve, and now we're going to go up the inside into 130R. Luckily for us, the Supra, which we're running with at the moment, is quite handy in a straight line, or at least what Super GT tells me is we're running 3.5 tenths up as we go through 130R, which is a phenomenal corner in this car. You really have to be brave touching the outside curb there at 130R. You don't want to be doing that. I have spun off many a time in previous races, but we are trying to keep ourselves within the limits so far. A 2-minute 2.873. The safety rating has a nice little blip there, which is nice to see. This is a replay of the 2 overtakes on the last lap, getting past the Volkswagen with relative ease there. And then the Ferrari was really just a sitting duck on this back straight. We got a slingshot run, had pretty good straight line speed, and that was us up in a P5. No DRS necessary, it seems, in this Japanese Grand Prix. Running with a Japanese car as well, perhaps for good luck. But anyway, we're in P5 now. We are still closing in on the leaders. I definitely feel like a podium is possible in this race. As you can see, these two are squabbling up ahead. They're literally 3 seconds up the road. This Spaniard seems to be all over the place, not only with his connection, but with the way that he's driving as well. He's in the Audi R8, which is a car that's not really great in terms of race pace. The tyres go off in this thing quite quickly. It's a very oversteery car as well, and you'll make note of that as he heads into the braking zone of the hairpin. Just slides it in everywhere, which is not doing his tyre wear any favours. As you can see, he gets a horrible run out of the hairpin. We're now putting him under pressure. But meanwhile, the race leader in the Aston Martin has made a mockery of the spoon curve. He's put himself in the barrier, and then he gets reset the track, losing all of about 5, 6, 7, 8 seconds. And now we find ourselves within touching distance, not only of P2, but in touching distance of winning this race. Just over halfway into this race. So I don't know how this has happened, but we've gone from being P13 and 18 seconds off the lead to within touching distance of winning this race. Here we go with the Aston Martin fighting the Jaguar into the final chicane. Alan Prost, the net and centre, eat your heart out. But we still continue to follow on board with our previous race leader. He makes another mistake, this time into turn 1, and then he spins out on the AstroTurf looking stuff and then rage quits. So he is out of the race. We now get promoted up into P3 by virtue of the massive bottle. The biggest bottle of the decade, I would say. Hopefully we don't do anything similar. I would hope not to do anything like this in this decade, that's for sure. Hopefully I'm leaving the bottle behind me in the 2010s. But anyway, you can see the the Audi R8 running a bit wide there at the second Degner. We take P2, and now the next car is the leader. I said this was going to be the greatest comeback of all time. It already is at P2. This is absolutely phenomenal scenes, but I do have the confidence knowing that I've got the fastest lap, and that I've got so much momentum behind me. I've caught these guys by 17 seconds in only a handful of laps. I honestly, I don't understand. Not that much faster than them. They're just maybe a little less consistent than what I am at this stage. But anyway, in the slipstream of the Jaguar, on the back straight, the pull that you get from the car ahead is so strong at this part of the racetrack. We could even go up the inside into the final chicane. I'm really good through 130R as well at high speed. Do we go inside, outside? No, the Portuguese driver is kind of all over the place, but we commit to the inside. It is the lead of the Japanese Grand Prix, even though this isn't a Grand Prix race. That's what I'm calling it regardless. We now lead this race after being, like I said, on lap 2, we were in P13 and 18 seconds behind the race leader. We now lead this thing. Absolutely unbelievable. P2, meanwhile, does what the Aston Martin driver did previously. Gets reset the track. Thankfully, though, he doesn't quit the race. Let's have another replay of what he did here. He just ran in a little bit too deep. Like turn 1. So there's booby traps left, right, and center at this place. If you run out wide, you can either spin out. There's the green AstroTurf, which isn't great. There's also the kitty litter. If you cut turn 1, you're getting a slowdown penalty. It's high risk, that section of the track. So too is this part. As you can see here, I make a mistake myself now. Must be a curse of the race leader kind of deal. But thankfully, we limited the mistake to only a couple of seconds lost there, and we progress with this race. Last lap of the Grand Prix now, you can see we lead by 14 seconds. So the guys behind me, after losing the lead, have continued to make mistakes. Tyre wear as well coming into it as well, which is really affecting, you know, the ability to keep the car in a straight line. But through to the final chicane now. After my small mistake, I just made doubly sure that I didn't overstep the marks. I backed off the pace quite a bit and made sure that we could just get to the end without any more mistakes. We win around Suzuka in what has been my greatest ever comeback on Gran Turismo Sport. Surely, there is no way I could ever top that. 18 seconds down or 17 seconds down on lap 2. You can see the screenshot right on cue here. In P13, and then we recover to win by just as much of a gap as what was the deficit at the start of the race. I can't believe it. Thank you so much for watching. Leave a like if you enjoyed. Subscribe to the channel if you're new to see plenty more racing game content. The race chat is it's going absolutely mental. Everyone's very happy with each other, as you would expect in these kinds of races, but GT Sport, what a game. In the next video, like I said, you will see perhaps the polar opposite to my achievement today. We will experience the worst that GT Sport has to offer. We will be on the receiving end of some of these less experienced drivers on the game. So look forward to that. But thank you so much for watching. Until the next one, I'll see you next time.